Oh,
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
Pretty good. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. I love your Ain't Too Proud
Oh,
shirt.
yes, at the merch birch booth
You,
39.
I'm so glad you're wearing it because my merch is at the theater, and I was like, oh, I usually do the merch thing, and I was like, oh,
Well, it is proudly represented.
very good, very good.
So, how does it feel like to be a part of the cast that got to bring the story to its hometown?
I mean, oh goodness. I mean, it's legacy, it's history, it's being an African American man in musical theater to be a part of something that is so good and so part of America. It feels absolutely amazing and wonderful, and I feel like a deep kind of responsibility, which you don't get a lot of in musical theater. You just don't. I mean, like, when is it musical theater your history,
True, true.
and black, and or like so a part of the culture. You can feel the audience listening. They know it better than you. So it's an honor and a privilege.
How was it like performing in front of Otis?
Well, I mean, thank goodness, Otis, Dr. Otis Williams has been a part of the process for a very long time. He was at our first rehearsal.
Mhm.
So the nerves, what's wonderful about him is like he's always whispering in your ear, like, you better do it, you're fantastic, you guys sound great, so it's always there. It's a very personal relationship he has with this show. And it's not a removed thing. It's a very, like, it's like your uncle, which is fantastic.
And how do you feel like the Detroit crowd has responded compared to other cities? Because you were guys were kind of circling Detroit for a little bit. You were in Cleveland, you were in Chicago, you were in Grand Rapids, and then you made it.
Circling, circling, circling. Like I said, they are listening. Who their people are, their favorite folks. Even the Uber driver knows Eddie Kendricks's brother, and everybody has a personal relationship with these characters and with this show. So you know what their favorite songs are. It's a real honor and a privilege. You really feel them listening and encouraging you along throughout the show. And it's a lot of peaks and valleys in the show, so you feel that emotional kind of a journey that they're taking. It's amazing. It feels so real.
Yeah,
It's
I've
so
been
real.
yeah, I've been to a lot of musicals. I feel like that was like the most interactive one that I've ever been in.
Mhm.
I was like,
Yeah,
I guess this is kind of like how Rocky Horror Show is because people were very
right.
expressive. And
And
then,
we black. We
yeah,
black. We black. So
and especially the peaks and valleys, it was like, he dies, or no. I remember like I was watching the musical, and I've seen a bunch of musicals, and I'm from Detroit as well. And like I know of the Temptations, but I didn't know like the valleys of the
right.
Temptations.
And you bring up an interesting point because, they were at a time, the group was at its height when you weren't diving into people's personal lives.
Hmm.
So these were mega superstar icons, who were black, so they were mega stars. And then, you think them, and then we tell these stories from the beginnings, high school, the starts and through their trials and tribulations. Paul Williams was the first choreographer of the group, and then those valleys. You get the real a glimpse into the full picture of their lives and what they I often describe um this group as like a supernova.
Hmm.
Like a supernova burns bright and hot, but it dies.
Yeah.
It's a tragic story. Great success, but those four brothers, they died in really, Melvin Franklin giving his all, taking, the cortisone shots, David Ruffin and the drugs and growing up, with an abusive father, Eddie Kendrick, lung cancer, that beautiful voice,
Yeah.
lung cancer,
Yeah.
and Paul Williams, with sickle cell anemia, which is all throughout the African American community.
Hmm.
But he dealt with it, by the drinking, and then, how he died, with the gunshot. It's like, yeah, that's reality. That's a real life there. Those are real lives there. And you could feel people taking that in and getting that story and then, the only thing that lasts forever is the music.
Yeah. It's
Oh,
so sad, but so beautiful at the same time. It's just
absolutely.
life.
Absolutely.
So what have you been doing in your downtime? Like there's downtime in touring musical theater in Detroit. And do you feel more connected to Paul being in his city?
Oh, well, what's interesting? I've got a few friends here that are from Detroit, and and just palling around with them. I'm doing a little bit of shopping.
Oh, I saw your versus everybody.
So got a few Detroit shirts, checking out the neighborhoods. There's this great clothing shop called by this woman, her name's Zaina, and it's right around the corner from the so I've been doing a little shopping there. I haven't really delved into kind of like, I want to get some local food. I heard about this Superman ice cream. Like
Yeah. I didn't
Superman
even
ice
know that
cream.
was a Detroit thing until like I was very much an adult. I just thought like that ice cream existed and that a lot of pizza was in the shape of a rectangle. Like I just thought that was like
And I also like, there's this taco place called Jose's, and you guys fry your tacos
Mhm.
here. And so I've been living at that taco place. Like, living at that taco place. Like, I was so mad yesterday. I was like, okay, I'm gonna get a taco before the show. Went around there, it was closed. I was like, oh, what am I gonna do? I had to I went to Fishbone, you
Oh,
know,
cool.
so got some gumbo there, and I got some shrimp and grits there. So it's all about food and hanging out with local folks.
That's awesome. And the role is to me unlike any other musical that it's very physically demanding. Not that other musicals aren't physically demanding, but usually there's a couple big dance numbers, but there's like a lot of acting in between. This is you're literally dancing through decades. How did you physically prepare to do all of that?
Well, I mean, to be let's like, my day starts usually with a workout, earlier in the day, and it's like more like wake up the body, wake up the voice, instead of like modeling for a muscle magazine.
Mhm.
It's more about being physically ready for the day to jumpstart the system. And eating and staying hydrated is really paramount. But I run before the show, like I like half an hour before half hour. I do about a 2 mile run. Yesterday I got lost. It was so funny. I was I went this way and I was like, oh, I'll just double back. And I was like, uh like, I don't know if I'm gonna make it. I was like, I don't really know where I'm going, but I got there.
Yeah.
But I like to run, and the endurance, as you spoke about, this show is basically through choreographed. We're moving constantly. The show moves constantly. And you have to have a telltale sign if a performer is not ready for the job or the gig, is if they don't have the breath control when they're singing. Like, when the breath isn't there, it's a wrap. And for me, it is all about breath training and endurance. So that's why I run, because it gives you, when that extra in the tank, when you're dancing and singing, because it's not just a dance concert. You have to dance and you have to sing and then you have to act. It's musical theater is a whole different beast. This
Mhm.
show is a whole different beast. Sergio Trujillo, the choreographer, really, it's like through choreographed,
Mhm.
which you got to be ready for.
And when you were kind of preparing and researching for this role, what did you find to be most surprising about the Temptations that you didn't know before?
Oh, well, I didn't know Paul Williams was the first choreographer of the group,
Mhm.
and how cool, he just, they were at that time where they had the crooners and crooners were just kind of standing around.
Mhm.
And Otis Williams talking about this. He was like, Paul Williams was just like, we got to have that sex appeal. All the women loved a good dancer. And,
Mhm.
and why don't we bring that into the group? So all the latest dances Paul knew, and he just added that style and the flair so that the group had that extra little thing that separated them from the rest of the folks. And I love Melvin Franklin's mother, being such a part of he's such a mama's boy. I thought that was really, really cool. And how she wanted him to stay in school and do the right thing, but he had this talent.
Yeah.
That was a big surprise. The relationship between Eddie and Paul, they were very, very close, and Eddie cried like a baby at his funeral. So I love learning that aspect of it. A lot was given to the fact of how Paul died with a gunshot, but like not so much about the sickle cell anemia.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
is rife in the African American
Mhm.
community, so that was an added kind of like, oh, okay, he was drinking so much because of the pain he was in and because he wanted to stay in the group,
Yeah.
and how that, it is a warning, for alcohol abuse, and in especially in the entertainment industry. It's all about the party and these big highs and ups and stuff like that. But that stuff sneaks up on you, and can take your whole life.
Yeah.
So all of that fed into my character.
Yeah. I also read, and you can share as much as little as you want, that
Mhm.
you're actually sober yourself. Um,
Yeah.
Congratulations on that. I think I read
Yes.
maybe 17 years, and that might have been a couple
17
years ago.
years. 17 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
How is it like to play a character who kind of didn't make it on the other side of their addictions and self-medicating?
Well, Ariana, it's Ariana, right?
Ariana, yes.
Ariana. It's we're doing this interview at a very interesting time in my life. I'm 17 years sober, and uh, I met my biological father about 4 years ago,
Oh, wow.
and that was a heck of a lot of emotion,
Hmm.
not having a relationship with him and then meeting him and then finding out he had his own struggles with that,
Mm.
you know and it was like one of those things where you were like, oh, right, and then you were like sad, and then you were like, oh my goodness, I've gotten to the other side of something
Yeah.
that has plagued my family and has plagued a lot of people, and I'm on the other side of that. And we did not have a good relationship because of his alcoholism,
Mhm.
and he just died last week because of that. Yeah, so
I'm so sorry.
thank you. I really do appreciate that. And um, so if you can imagine, Ariana, playing a role where the character dies, my father has just died, and I've gotten through to the other side to tell the tale of both of their legacies. It's a powerful, powerful thing to stand in that space and feel all of what that is, and live and show up for life, and be present, and to yesterday was the day that my father was interred. It was also Paul Williams' date of his death.
Oh my gosh.
So there's a lot going on, and I am grateful that I am present for it and able to show up, because I believe that you don't you are given the circumstances in your life so that you can live, you can experience them and get to the other side and be a witness or testimony or share
Yeah.
in an interview, you know, about the experience so that other people can relate in some kind of way. So it's a powerful thing what life is. I am so grateful for it. It's not easy. It's a whole lot of things is what
Yeah.
it is. But I'm here for it,
Yes.
you know.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. I'm sorry. That's a lot, man. Um, and I really appreciate you still taking the time to talk to me. On a lighter note, what's your favorite song to perform so I don't just burst into tears?
That's okay. Oh goodness, I love Get Ready. I
Okay.
love Get Ready. What else? Oh well, it's not even. I don't even get to perform into the show, but I love watching. What is it? Um, what is the name of the song?
Is it
Oh
Cloud
goodness,
Nine?
not Cloud Nine, but it's oh, I love Papa Was a Rolling Stone.
Yes, yes,
With
yes.
the choreography,
Yes.
I said, and they be singing. It's a cast of triple threats.
Hmm.
It's a cast of triple threats. And I remember first day in rehearsal, I was like, these folks ain't playing.
No.
They're not playing,
Yeah.
you know, and it's great. But I love watching Papa Was a Rolling Stone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
would say my favorite parts of the musical, because it's hard to pick a favorite song because it really just kind of depends on the day
Yeah,
and
right.
that moment in time. I loved when you taught them the choreography because I think it was kind of funny to see obviously very trained dancers learning how to dance in like 3 minutes. I thought that was super cute.
It's funny.
I um I also love Just My Imagination because it's like Eddie's moment. And
Yeah.
then like that supposedly at that time, like his last performance, it was like, ah,
Right, right, right.
what?
Right.
It makes me super sad when people pass because like when he has that Otis has the last conversation with Paul and he's like, the road is my medicine. I'm like, maybe he should have went back on the road, but like you can if woulda coulda shoulda like things happened. But yeah, and I also love the beginning of the second act because it's just like a canon, like, here
It's a
we are,
canon.
everybody.
Yeah, people freak out like that audience roars after that number. You know, you know, David Ruffin coming in there, and he really used to do that.
Mhm.
Show up and just get on stage. Like,
I
yeah, man. Yeah.
remember I was with my mom and I whispered to my mom, I'm like, so he just like hops on stage high off his ass and he's out the group. And she's just like, yeah. I'm like, that's weird, but I feel like if I was just there, I would just be excited because, like, as you said, this is before social media. I don't really know the issues, but I'm like, oh, look at this bonus person.
Right,
Fun.
right. I thought he was out. Now he's back in. Like,
Yes.
oh my God.
And we kind of mentioned this before. I'm obviously also Black as well. How is it like to be a part of, I'm just going to say as blatantly as Black, it's kind of like the Blackest show in Broadway. It's written by a Black woman, a Black cast about Black history and even present. How is it like to kind of be a part of that history now?
Soul like quenching. It, you know, I Black performers or African American characters are usually relegated to like a sliver in somebody else's story.
Hmm.
This story is about Black icons. And I get to tell, I am a character that I get to play from the beginning to the middle to the end of his life in musical theater.
Hmm.
That does not happen. And an original member of the group is still alive and well to see it. Otis, Mr. Williams always talks about legacy. And we, in our very own special God-given way, I'm a musical theater performer.
Hmm.
I get to participate in the legacy of a superstar group. I am a part of that legacy of the story of that group. And it is so powerful. It is so inspiring. My self-esteem has gone through the roof. I am, I'm a musical theater temptation,
Yeah.
in a show that is so black, all I got to do is show up and be me.
Yeah.
I know all of the nuances of the character because I was born into it.
Yes.
There's no acting. I act like me,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
and that's right.
Yeah. It's really beautiful. And as you're speaking as you're one of the musical theater temptations, how how would you describe your relationship in the bond with the other classic five on tour?
Well, I will say Marcus Paul James and I were college roommates who plays Otis. And you know what? In the past 25 years, we've never worked together professionally.
That's so crazy.
He was my roommate in college, and he was my first roommate in New York City. And we've never, ever, ever worked together. So that's a hoot. Our opening night of here in Detroit, we had a little cry, just because it's so it's so unbelievably believable, like the reality is the dream, and and Jalen and I have a really special relationship. Jalen Harris plays Eddie Kendricks, and we just, two peas in a pod together. And then, I it will forever cement us all together, playing these temps on the road, going around the country after a global pandemic,
Yeah.
going into, and it's different every city you go. Like it's a different feel, it's a different climate. Nothing like Detroit though. Nothing like Detroit. You feel like they're listening so hard and
Yes.
well. Yeah.
And do you guys have any like behind the scenes rituals that you do? I know something that I was super surprised of is that the mics are actually in your afros. I was like, oh, that's weird. Because at first, like when I was seeing pictures, I'm like, oh, so and so has like a scar on their head that sometimes they cover up with makeup. But then I'm like, why do they all have? I'm like, oh, it's the mics, Ariana. Okay.
Yeah. That's one way. And they're usually it's two mics just in case one sweats out. The other one, because they usually do. But yeah, that's just the way that the audio goes and where we can get the best sound. Um, we right before we come in, before the way you do the things you do, we have a little temptation circle, where we circle up and we just kind of like, you know, offer words of encouragement or tell a funny dirty joke or like, just connect because we know we're about to go on a journey. That's pretty ritualistic. We often have dinner together, if especially in cities that we are in for a longer time. So like on a Monday night, we'll all go out to dinner and we have like a classic five dinner,
Oh,
you
that's
know,
cute.
yeah, away from, just talk about things that's going on. All of us are artists, outside of this show. So, we catch up on what other people are doing outside of the show, because sometimes it could feel like work, quite honestly,
Yeah.
and away from the building, you get a different story and a different feel about the brothers that you work with so much, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for taking out the time to talk to me and being so open. I'm just going to be emotional all day, which is fine. That is life and that is
Yes.
beautiful.
Yes.
Well, I really appreciate it. And I hope you enjoy your rest of your time in Detroit. And I hope to talk to you soon about other projects that you'll have going on. I know you'll continue to have an amazing career.
Thank you, Ariana.
Okay. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon.
Take care. All the
Okay.
best.